Why call it move fast and fix things?
Well, it's a play on the phrase we've all heard, which is move fast and break things. So Mark Zuckerberg made this famous in Silicon Valley and beyond. And I think one of the main observations of our work together, Francis, is that the trade-off at the heart of this worldview is false. So the most successful leaders we know, particularly change leaders, are solving problems at an accelerated pace while also taking responsibility for the success and the well-being of their customers and shareholders and employees. They are moving fast and fixing things. And I think we wanted to get that message out to the world and have a conversation about how you can do this inside any organization.
And perhaps we want to give speed a good name, because speed had been thought as you could
Yes.
either go fast and hurt things, or you should prudently go slowly. The subtitle of our book is The Trusted Leader's Guide, and trust, it turns out, is a really important component of moving fast. In fact, the way that we
Tuesday. Yeah.
yeah. So the way that we look at things, with the dimensions of speed and trust, is that you can, when we move fast and break things, which we call reckless disruption, and we do find it quite reckless. That's going fast in a low trust environment. And what we want to do is provide a recipe. And I think this book is as close to a recipe as we'll ever give. Uh, and this is when we go to move fast and fix things. And what we're saying there is the reason we want speed is because we want to accelerate excellence, and that we want to be sad if we go slowly toward excellence when we could have accelerated it. Now, one of the things that we find with, we sure don't want the organizations to be in reckless disruption, but I'm not sure that the companies in reckless disruption would have alone prompted us to write the book, but rather it was how many companies, just how many were in what we call responsible stewardship, that they were going what we felt artificially slow out of really prudent good intentions, that they didn't want to break things. And so they would go and sometimes glacier like pace. And, if what you're working on doesn't have a lot of consequence, move like a glacier. But if what you're working on has lots of consequence, and maybe is fixing problems that are confronting individuals, then we care a great deal about it. And so I think that one of the motivations was that there were so many organizations in responsible stewardship out of fear of the few prominent organizations in reckless disruption. And so today we're going to talk about our journey, and how to provide that recipe to accelerating excellence.
Yeah. Friends, I'll just add that I was just reminded of the conversation we had yesterday with a team we're working with who described that quadrant as a velvet coffin.
Oh, the responsible stewardship.
The responsible
Yeah.
stewardship, which has really stuck with me. And I think you can make the case to be in this quadrant temporarily, but we find that organizations really get stuck there.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely a motivation for the book. I mean, essentially, two variables have fallen out of our work that really make the difference between good intentions and having any impact at all. And it's really, how fast will you go and how much trust will you build or destroy along the way? And
Yeah.
that's what we set out. Those are the questions we set out to answer, really.
And it turns out that sequence matters, on that. And so we'll go to the table of contents for the book, which is, a lot of people are very shocked when we say that you can solve hard problems in a week, and
Including our publisher,
our
who really well, obviously, this is a metaphor, right?
and we were like, well, sure,
Yes and no.
sure,
Yeah.
sure, a metaphor, as long as you're going to try to do it in a week, then it's a metaphor. But the sequence does matter, and we'll go through each of these days. But to your point, it's not until Friday that we go fast. So you have to do all of the other work to accelerate excellence. You have to get to speed on Friday, and if you pull speed earlier than Friday, that's when we risk the reckless disruption, the reckless disruption part of it. So I'll describe what this is at a high level, and then I thought perhaps Anne will go into each day and try to give folks just a way of thinking about it. So Monday we're going to talk about finding the real problem, and that we'll get to that, but we want to make sure that all of your time is value added time. And our heart breaks when people are working on symptoms of the problem as opposed to the actual root cause of the problem. So, and we think it could take a whole day. So Monday is find the real problem you're going to. On Tuesday, we're going to come up with our first draft of the plan. And for sure, we're going to be solving for trust, because if there's a problem and people were involved, trust was broken. And so we'll talk about how to do that and how to do it quickly. Wednesday, make new friends, super intriguing. We'll look there. But when we make new friends, we're going to go from our good enough plan on Tuesday to an even better plan on Wednesday through new insights. On Thursday, we're going to set people up to operate in our absence by telling a story that is compelling enough so that they understand the plan while we're there saying it to them, but also in our absence. And so we'll talk about what that looks like. And then we get to go as fast as we can. So why don't we start with Monday and finding the real problem.